Hey guys, I'm gonna do like a little story time about me and one of my friends' trips going bike riding. And I was gonna do like a get ready with me, but I realized I can't do my makeup and talk thoroughly at the same time. So I just did on my makeup for no reason at all, because honestly I'm not going anywhere today. Well, I'll just tell you the story. Okay, so me and my friend are like really like adventurous people. One day we decided that we were gonna go bike riding, and we never plan. So she picked me up. The only thing we knew was that we needed our bikes to go. So she got her bike rack, we went with her, I put my bike in her car, we were in our little like bike riding outfits or whatever, and then she was like, Aaliyah, where do you want to go bike riding? And I was like, you didn't pick a place, which I already knew the answer to the question because we never pick places before we go anywhere. We just like figure it out on the way. So she started driving, and I already assumed like we were going to Castroville Park just because it's like 5 minutes away from our house. We just would go whenever we wanted to do something. It's like, no, I want to go somewhere different. Like, it's gonna be too difficult trying to ride on the trails, and it'll just be boring riding around the park. Somewhere in San Antonio. And we Googled best place, basic best place to go bike riding in San Antonio, and Garner Park was like the top number one on like 5 different websites. So then we Google how to get to Garner Park. We stop at the closest convenience store on the way, buy some water bottles because we didn't even plan that far ahead. I bought my little like generic 16 ounce or whatever, 12 ounce, whatever water bottle like is like the basic one. And Mickey bought this huge freaking like extra large water bottle, and I was like, well, that was probably my first mistake, and that's, looking back on it, that was my first mistake, and it led to a lot more problems at the end, but we'll get there. So we drive to the park, and we park obviously in a parking lot, and we go to get our bikes off the back in the bike rack, and Mickey's dad bought her like the best one because she goes bike riding a lot in Austin, and there's like a lot of people who try and steal stuff, and so her dad bought her this industrial bike rack holder. And we go back there and we're looking for the key, and we look through her entire car, her wallet, everything that she brought, and she realizes that she left it on top of her car as we were leaving my house, which was like 45 minutes away. So it was either go back to my house and try and find the key, or try and steal our own bikes off of the back of Mickey's car. So we're trying everything we can, and then there are these random guys next to us playing basketball, and I just walk up and I'm like, do any of y'all have like a knife or something? Which sounds really creepy, and if I were them I would not have given me a knife. But this guy was really nice, and he went to the back of his car and he was like, I have these wire cutters, which was like perfect for our occasion. Like, God was like, here, Leah, I'm blessing you with these wire cutters. So we take the wire cutters and we go back to our bike rack, and like we're using all of our strength to break open this bike rack, which if you've ever stolen a bike, props to you, because that shit is hard. It wasn't even a wire, it was like a rubber, it was rubber around metal, braided in more metal. So it was like 50 wires that we were trying to cut with these little pair of wire cutters, but we were still thankful like that we even had them in the first place. It's about 30 minutes later now, and we finally get our bikes off this stupid bike rack, and I give the guy back his wire cutters. We take our bikes off, and we're just trying to figure out like where to even start, because there's different paths going everywhere, and you go through some of them and they always end up to a dead end. So we took like 3 different paths, and we ended up having to turn around, and finally we take one that actually goes somewhere for like an actual mile or so. And it's constantly just like, are we going left? Are we going right? Like, which way? Well, we kind of just followed wherever we wanted to go at the time, I guess. There were never any like good maps throughout the way. We had our phones in her bag. We weren't like tracking, I guess, where we were going, which would have been a good idea, but we kind of expected to see one of those maps like, you are here, this is where this is where that is, but there was nothing, not one of those. And we're going down these trails that are actually like cement, like they're really nice and flat, and it's not hard biking at all, and it's like actually pretty relaxing because you just see like the woods, and there's like occasionally other people, like professional bikers, who are like saying all this professional bike terminology, or if you ignored them, then the whole trip was pretty fun. And we did pass one map, but it was more along the lines of like territories. It had a line and it said like San Antonio, and then it had a line and then it said something else, but it was nothing like a map of the like how to get back to wherever we came from, basically. So anything that we needed was not on this map. Nothing on that map helped us whatsoever. So we'd only been going for like an hour and we were kind of tired, so we would like stop for water every 15 minutes or so. Finished mine like so fast. Mickey finished hers, or even faster actually, and I had even the smaller one, which makes no sense. But turn to this part where there's like a lot of twists and turns and things that lead back to each other. So we're trying to figure out a way to go to continue forward, and by the end of it we're not really sure which direction we're even going anymore. We forgot which lefts and rights we took, so we weren't sure if we were heading back to where we were coming from, or if we were continuing going forward at all. And we end up just keep going, and this is when Mickey decides to bust ass on top of her bag. And if you know me, you know that I have a problem with cracking every single one of my phones. Every phone that I have had is cracked. Look, I have my old, I'm recording on my new phone, and then I have my old phone, and it is destroyed. And all the other phones I had to like turn back in or whatever, but I promise you this is like one of the best looking phones that I've had so far. So they all die brutally. Like, it's not some peaceful like, oh, let me upgrade my phone. It's like, no, I murdered my phone, so I need a new one. So if I didn't tell you already, she falls on top of her bag, which our phones are in her bag, and she wipes out pretty bad. Pretty bad. It wasn't some like smooth fall or whatever. So we take our phones out of her bag, and mine cracked. Yeah, that was the longest that I've gone without cracking a phone, and I was like, wow, Leah, you're doing really good. And then out of nowhere, it's like, fate killed my phone. Oh, it was this phone. That's how this one started cracking, was because of that bike ride. Mickey's was fine though, so we were like playing this like really chill music. We had this chill playlist, and so as we were bike riding, it was like a movie, you know, that really calm music where you're just like in a really happy mood and everything's perfect. And I was like, you know what, it's just a phone, it doesn't matter that much, like I'm enjoying my day. It wasn't even that big of a crack, so I was just, you know, chilling still. Then we continue down our path and we keep going and going until we finally, like out of nowhere, we actually get tired, and it goes from like chill to like, can we take a break every 5 minutes, because I get really red when I work out, and I was just done already. We'd been bike riding for like a couple hours already, and I was just like, I'm done, I just want to like go back. And because we had been bike riding for a couple hours and not seeing anything the same, I was like, a couple hours gone means we need to go a couple hours back before we even get to our car. And that was if we figured out the perfect path, like every freaking turn that we took to get there. So I was like, Mickey, can we turn around? And she was like, yeah, but because we didn't know where we were even going, we saw on one of the maps, which was, okay, I lied, there was one helpful thing. The thing went in a huge circle. So like if we were to continue going, then we would eventually get back to where we needed to be. So we were deciding, is it better to turn around and go back a few hours, or were we just going to keep going around this circle and we were like almost to where we needed to be and it would be done already? So we decided to keep going, because I was like, I'm not going to go back a few hours if it's like 5 minutes this way. It just didn't make sense to me. And we were out of water. I was freaking dying of thirst. I needed to be hydrated, and Mickey finished all her water. My phone was cracked. I couldn't read it. It was on like 2%. Mickey's was almost dead from playing music. And we're going down, and we meet this part where the trail meets a highway. So there was no more trail left. So it was either
random moment where I forget what I'm talking about, part 1.
Lex!
And you're gonna get punched. Please hurry. I don't know what you're doing, but please hurry. Go away.
So then Mickey finally decides to use like her last 10% of her phone battery on Googling where Gardner Park is, because we parked pretty close to the entrance. So if she Googled where the entrance was, we would see like our options of going back or going continuing, but we didn't even know where the trail was anymore. So she Googles it, and the fastest way is to take the highway part.
Part 2.
Even at that, it was like 7 miles. So I'm like, okay, whatever. The fastest way to get back to your car, to get a drink of water, to, you know what, go home, whatever. And it's hot. Let me tell you, it's like middle of summer, 100 and whatever degrees. It's hot as heck. I'm dripping sweat. Mickey is dripping sweat. I look like a lobster because...
Part 3.
Why do I just randomly forget where I'm going with this story? Why? So we're going, and we're actually, it's like, I don't want to say this, but it's kind of like a ghetto part of town or whatever. People are staring at us weird because we're like 2 really freaking sweaty girls riding our bikes on this, which I mean, I guess is not that weird, but people are staring at us weird. And we didn't expect to go into town at all. We expected to go on a nice little bike ride around this park and then leave. So we didn't have money on us. My phone was dead at this point. Mickey happened to have like 58 cents in her bag. We're riding around on our bikes. We eventually passed this convenience store. Okay, this was our plan. We were gonna park our bikes at the side of the convenience store. Mickey was gonna go inside, try and talk the cashier into giving us free refills in our water bottles. Or not free, but she was gonna give her the 58 cents or whatever. And I was gonna stay outside and watch the bikes so that nobody took them. And I was like, okay, this is gonna be an easy job. No one's gonna obviously try and take my bike. Like, there's people everywhere. It'd be pretty dumb to do that. So I'm sitting there, out of breath, leaning against this like soda machine or whatever. And I feel awful, but I'm assuming she was homeless. She was in like really raggedy, I guess, clothes. She was like my age. Her hair was down in a mess. Really scared me, which is awful to say. I think she just gave off that homeless vibe. And I'm like one of the first people to like give all my money and stuff to homeless. Like, my friends actually get mad at me because I can't pass a homeless person without giving them $1, which pisses me off, but it's whatever. I wasn't gonna offer her $1 or anything just in case like she wasn't homeless, but it was awkward. She sat there for a second and she was staring at my bike, which is actually my dad's bike. So I was trying to make sure nothing bad like happened to it or whatever. Even more, I need to stop saying like, and I need to stop saying or whatever right now. Right now. She looks right at me and she says, "That's a nice bike." And I was like, "Thank you. It's my dad's bike." And she was like, "That's really nice. What kind is it?" And the brand or whatever is right on the, if I say or whatever one more time, the brand is right on the side of the bike. So I wasn't really sure what she was asking me, and I think she was just trying to intimidate me, which really worked. I didn't answer her question. I kind of just ignored it and kept to myself, minded my own business, just really watched them. And she sits right next to both of our bikes, and she has like this duffel bag that she's carrying with her. She reaches into the duffel bag, and I was already nervous, so I was like, she could pull literally anything out of this bag. But at the same time, I was like, Aaliyah, you're surrounded by like all these people that are coming in and out of the convenience store and the traffic. And I was just thinking, there's no way she's actually gonna do anything. And out of her duffel bag, out of everything, I was like, you're overreacting, Aaliyah, you're overreacting. And she pulls out this black ski mask, puts it over her head, and looks at me. And it's the one with like the 2 holes right here and a hole for breathing, and she's just staring at me. And then she like freaks out. Like, I'm just kind of like making eye contact, like, please don't fucking kill me. And out of nowhere, I'm gonna try and reenact this. This is my makeup bag. This is gonna be her duffel bag, okay? She's staring at me, right? And out of nowhere, she's like, and she starts digging through her duffel bag like a maniac. And I ran inside because I was like, she could have a gun, she could have a knife, she could have something to shank me with. Because my like thoughts of I was overreacting were like out the window. I was like, fuck no, I'm not dying at a convenience store in a place that I don't even know. And I ran inside to Mickey and I was like, Mickey, some girl's trying to like steal my bike right now, and she has a ski mask on, and I'm like going off telling her everything that was going through my head. And the lady, she talked into giving us free water or whatever, filling up our water bottles. And the lady's looking at me like I'm freaking insane, and I was like, let's go hide in the bathroom before this person comes in here and like shoots us all. And Mickey's like, Aaliyah, are you serious? And she's like freaking out. But instead of running away and hiding in the bathroom like I wanted to do, she runs outside, and the lady's like grabbing my bike. She never pulled anything out of her duffel bag, I guess, but she's like holding on to my bike. And Mickey takes my bike away from the freaking psycho woman and not throws it, but like kind of like tosses it at me a little bit. And she's like, Aaliyah, pedal. And so then I get on my bike, I start pedaling away, which, I mean, you know how hard it is to start pedaling on your bike? Or like how many times you have to try before it actually works? Well, under pressure, it's 10 times freaking harder to do. So I try and fail to start pedaling on my bike like 10 times. Mickey gets on her bike and starts pedaling away. And then this guy comes up, or we're like pedaling away, the girl starts walking and then eventually gives up. So we're pedaling away, and then this guy who saw me like dying of thirst and dying of dehydration outside the convenience store comes up and gives me this like blue, what's it called? Powerade, I guess. Some sort of Powerade. And I'm like, oh my gosh, thank you. And he's like, nah, don't worry about it. And he just walks away. I think he might have thought I was homeless or something along those lines. Maybe he was just trying to be a good person. But either way, he blessed me. And we have these like 2 water bottles full of water. So we finally like have replenished drinking liquid. We just keep pedaling through town, try and forget that traumatic experience that just happened to us. We're like constantly stopping to drink because we obviously hadn't had water in a couple of hours, and eventually it hits us that we need to pee out all this liquid that we've been drinking, and there's a Subway. So we walk into the Subway, we use the bathroom. The guy's pretty nice, but he's still kind of like, what are y'all doing in here? Y'all look ridiculous. And we're not buying anything, so we go to the bathroom, and then Mickey asks again, can we please fill up our water? We have 58 cents if you want it. And he didn't take it. Like, there's a lot of good people in San Antonio. So then we're pedaling, and Mickey is going like way, way, way faster than me. And I'm just, am I this out of shape? Like, are you really still have that much energy to continue like this? And we realized that my bike is flat. Both tires on my bike are completely flat, so no matter how hard I was trying to pedal to keep up with Mickey, it wasn't gonna work. So we keep pedaling, and I'm sitting like 10 feet behind her, struggling every freaking time I try and pedal. It's just not working good enough. And we pass this tire shop, and at first I was like, there's no way that they're gonna be nice enough to fill up my tires for like 58 cents or whatever. If I say or whatever one more time in this video, I'm deleting it. I swear to God. So, reposition. So one of the good things that happened to us today, I thought maybe this guy will just be nice enough to fill up my tires. So I walk out to him and I ask him, and he's kind of just like, this tire thing is for cars. We don't really, it would be too much pressure, I guess, for bikes. And he looks at my bike, and I just happened to have one of the bikes with like the best tires on it, so it would happen to work with the car pressure. And so I was like, bless up. And he filled up my tires, and me and Mickey were finally going the same speed at the same time, like flourishing together. And it was just like the hardest thing. It was 160 degrees outside. We were riding for miles and miles, 7 miles. It's like really difficult. And every time Mickey would be like, okay, we're turning down this street. And I'm like, how long on this street? She'd be like, 3 miles. And it's just like miles. We end up having to ride like this close to the highway. So the cars are like zoom, 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 and me and Mickey are like right here, like riding along. It was really scary and Mickey was really tripped out. But we eventually make it. 7 miles later, we are dead. We make it back to her car. We sit in some air conditioning. We try and tie our bikes back onto the back thing without her bike, what was it called again? Without her thing that we broke before to try and break our bikes out of her car. And we eventually do it. And we're going home. We tell her mom about everything that had happened to us that day. She ends up getting mad at Mickey because apparently this park is really famous for people getting murdered here because it's such a huge park. It's almost like impossible to find all the dead bodies that people would hide there, or that gangs would take people out to shoot each other there.
Here's where I failed to make a good conclusion.